What do you think is more important? Being liked or being respected? Most men would say being respected. Most women would probably say being liked. It's interesting. There will be exceptions to the rule, but as men, we have to be the ones setting boundaries, and more importantly, enforcing on those boundaries. On retention, at some stage you will come to the crossroads, perhaps, where you need to make a decision whether you want to be respected or liked. Sure, sometimes you can have both, but most of the time you're going to have to choose. If you asked me that 5 years ago, I would have said I'd prefer to be liked by everyone. But now, I'd say I prefer to be respected. Because people tend to like people that aren't a threat to them. Not always the case, but quite often the case. However, if you want people to respect you, those very same people that you are teaching them a lesson on that you are someone that isn't going to be weak. You are someone that doesn't need their approval to fill a void inside you. If you have in your mind that your goal is to be respected more than liked, a lot of people in your past, in your life, they will find their exit. Even, it's just how it is. People come, people go. But if you know anything about relationships as a man, your woman, she will find it hard to like and love you if she first doesn't respect you. And rightly so. It forces you to level up. It forces you to get into your masculine frame, I suppose. You are more connected to both men and women when you are in your masculine energy, because that is what is natural for you. You may find that when you prioritize respect over being liked, this may cause people, some people, not all, certain people to resent you. Because you are not allowing them to play their little games with you. You are not bothered if they do not like you. I have a bit of a personal experience when it comes to resentment from a certain person. You becoming the truest version of yourself, you will force people to question what it is that they are lacking, what it is that you have achieved that they haven't. It's not fair. And instead of hardening up, instead of being a man, instead of humbling themselves and asking you, hey man, I noticed that you're doing this and this and this, can you teach me how to do that? Because that is something I want to do for myself. Instead of doing that, it's much easier for them to project onto you and say, he's different, he's making me look bad, I'm a victim, it's his fault. Zero accountability and zero awareness to reflect inwards, just projecting outwards. Now there's this one guy at my work. I've known him for about 2.5 years, since I started at that job. And it's funny, because when I was new, I'd be nice to him, right? As you would be to anyone that you meet for the first time. Just being yourself. And I found that the more I was nice to him, the worse he treated me. And the worse he viewed me. And I found that very strange. Never really happened to me before in my life. And I learnt very quickly that this particular person, that I'd rather be respected than liked. Because how things were going is that, well, he may have liked me, but he sure as hell did not respect me. And that is exactly how he wanted things to go. Now, usually there's some type of reciprocation with people. You scratch their back, they scratch your back. Friendships form through a mutual respect, I suppose, for each other. However, I later learned that this particular guy had quite a traumatic upbringing. Had a very low sense of self, low self-confidence, just very poor people skills. He had a hard time. It was clear. And look, like any person, you have sympathy. You can empathize with that. You can imagine that they had a hard time. And if they are willing to receive your friendship, you might be able to help them get through it. But unfortunately, the case with this guy, it wasn't possible, because his lack of social skills meant that he had such a big disconnect with people. And although in his mind he probably meant well, from someone else's perspective, such as my own, me prioritizing respect over being liked meant that I was not going to take shit from him. And if it occurred, I'd call him out, I'd confront him, I'd tell him to stop. And this guy cannot handle confrontation. If you come to him with an issue and try to clear things up, he won't know what to say. He'll just give you a blank stare. He'll say nothing. He'll roll your eyes at you. And he'll basically wait for you to shut the hell up so he can just go away. And for this reason, 2.5 years, haven't been able to build a connection with him. But I genuinely wanted to. I want to build a connection with everyone that I meet. I love that stuff. I love it. I'd like to think that people come into your life for a reason. For you to help each other, I suppose, on their journey. On each other's journey, should I say. Yeah, it's something I've had a hard time dealing with, I must be honest. It's something that kind of grinds my gears. How just a complete lack of connection that I have with this one person. And I know that if I'm too nice, if I'm too kind, if I'm too genuine, disrespect will start to occur. And I don't know why. And it bothers me. Yeah. I'm hoping to work through this. I think I'm at a pretty decent level where I can probably let that stuff go, because at a certain point, like, you start to realize that you holding grudges, if you allow someone to live rent free in your head, it kind of eats away at you. I think that this was supposed to happen, though, because, you know, sometimes you can't help but think that you are being tested. You are going through a challenge, and this challenge may well force you to improve certain aspects of yourself. As I said before, I can empathize and sympathize with people. I'm great at that. However, there comes a certain line where as soon as the disrespect starts, I suppose all that empathy and sympathy kind of has to go out the window, because it is possible to have baggage, right? It is possible to still learn how to treat people properly. But yeah, I think that is very important for a man to be able to draw a line somewhere. Sure, give people the benefit of the doubt until they prove you otherwise. And when they do prove you otherwise, you may have to make some tough decisions. Yeah, I just remember countless times where I'd say something to this guy and he'd just shout at me. Don't know why, but I can't claim to understand what goes on in people's minds. But one thing it has taught me is what not to allow, what not to tolerate, Because if you don't know what you what you are willing to tolerate and aren't willing to tolerate, you won't have control over anything, will you? You'll just be a victim to circumstance. People can just treat you however they like instead of however you like. Because at the end of the day, however you like, that is most important to you. But yeah, as far as choosing respect over being liked, this relationship I have with this guy is a perfect example of that. Because after 2 to 3 days of knowing him, I made that decision. I made that decision that I need this guy to respect me more than I need him to like me. I don't need him to like me, but what I will not tolerate is not being treated properly as anyone should be treated. So, in closing, this path will test you in more ways than one. It will. You'll have great experiences, and you'll also have not so great experiences. But you can control a great amount of it. Anything that you cannot control, try not to let it eat away at you. For example, I can't control how that guy acts. I can't control his lack of people skills. That is something that he has to try to work on himself. However, he can only do that once he stops identifying as a victim. Even though he probably is a victim, so are a lot of people. But only some people are actually able to overcome that and then transform themselves in a massive way. Thank you for watching the video. Take care.